We in there. We are live. What's going on, people? You have just joined the abomination known as AJ, and I'm here with the other part of Heroes No Capes, my man Ego.
What's going
Episode
on,
two.
Abomination?
What's up? What's up, man? We here for episode 2 of our podcast. Well, we about to talk about some stuff. We got some stuff in mind to talk about. We'll see how that goes. Let's just check up in on the squad, the heroes. I ain't been doing
Right.
shit but the same thing. Getting into some art.
Nice,
Dealing,
nice.
dealing with some dogs. Just had me some pizza, so I'm feeling good. Got some little alcohol I'm gonna be drinking on tonight.
What you sipping on tonight, man?
Oh, I have here Jim Beam, little plastic bottle because I'm broke.
Straight bourbon. Oh.
I'm a Tennessee dude, and then I've been hearing that if
Alright.
you in the South, you gotta have some whiskey or some, I don't know, some brown shit. So
Alright.
I'm
Better
trying to
sip
drink
that.
like a man. Yeah,
Better sip it.
This is disgusting. But that's what's going on with me, man. What's up with you, Ego?
Nothing much, man. The wife is out of town for business for the week. Molly, my dog, is with you this week because I haven't had time to take her out myself. So the entire apartment is clean and quiet. It was great for the first few days, but I'm ready for everybody to come back home. You know what I mean?
He getting
You know,
lonely just there with the action figures.
bro, I'm getting lonely with the food, bro. I'm like, I love you, honey. Like, breakfast not being here. I make no lunch. Dinner is all over the place. I was like, yeah. I need my home cooked meals, man.
I understand,
She cooks, bro. I make dessert. It's got to work that way.
Bro, that's what the women are for, to compliment us. The better part of where we slacking, and you know what I'm saying? Woman come through. It's beautiful.
Great, because I am slacking, bro, on these meals.
There you go, bro. You starting to hear the voices from the figures yet?
Which figures?
Shit, the figures behind you flashed and went back in time. Said, bro, if I just run back in time, I can get the wife back here, man. I can have her prepare the meals.
No, man. After I read and saw the Flashpoint Paradox, I don't trust Barry now, man. Just stay in the current continuity, bro. Stay in current continuity.
Some shit might change for the worse. Yo,
I got you.
Be a homeless dude with a mask on. Let's
go. Exactly. There's no way. So I know that we got quite a few topics to go over with everything that's been going on the last week or so. We got a ton of topic. Anyone that you're just feeling off the top you want to just discuss and figure out where it goes from there?
Well, our description say define this episode, and we know what's going on there. You know, we not journalists or anything, but we know how to read some shit and figure out what it is. You know, people are not biologists out here, but they can look at an animal and figure, and know what it is, based on common sense and just intelligence we've acquired over the past years of our existence. So
exactly,
the question burning on everybody's mind is, what is a woman?
That's a tough one, man.
That's
a very tough one. That's a very tough one.
That's so hard. I'm gonna let it go to the smart man. What are you thinking? What is a woman? Because I thought I had it right all this time, but shit didn't just.
Hey, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I got 3 degrees. One's a bachelor's in biology, pre-medicine concentration. Master's is in interdisciplinary health sciences with the an emphasis on pharmacologic and biochemical principles. And I have a doctorate in audiology, which deals with hearing imbalance disorders. So I like books is the easy way to put that. So, I mean, at the level, at the level that we're going, I mean, it has to be at the level of biology. So, and I do that going from the chromosomes, women, XX chromosome, men, XY chromosome. That's as basic and as boiled down as I can put it. You know, I do not know who said it, but I think Lord Jamar was repeating it, but he said that when we die and the archaeologists dig up our bones, they're going to look up the bone density, bone structure. They're going to look at the pelvic bones to see if there's a wider hips. And from that, they'll say, this was a man, this was a woman. It won't be what we said we were or what we dressed up as or what we told everyone we were. The archaeologists are going to say, based on bone structure, bone density, and all these other physical properties, that this was a man or this was a woman. You know,
Yeah,
that's kind of where I go. Just basic from the book, textbook definition. That's what we'd have to go by.
So they're not going to be able to be like this person transition into the opposite gender at this trimester in its life or some shit or
Well,
however it
we
works
don't.
out.
I mean, well, that was the thing is, even if we're looking at the bones we dig up now, how would we know then that that's not what they were telling other people in the villages and in the cultures they lived in? Do you know what I mean? We wouldn't even know if they were saying that then. So it would almost be impossible to do the same thing unless you had a recording in video of a person saying that that's what they identify as. But it doesn't mean that that's going to lend itself to the archaeologists knowing any better. They're just going to look at it and say, oh, this would be a man or a woman based on bone structure and density.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all you can really go off of. I mean, why don't you let people know why we're asking about how to define a woman? Like, where are we getting this from for those that don't know?
So, what I was about to say, in my years of living, I've been taught that a woman was she has some tits, got a vagina, a period that comes around once a month. She can birth a baby, a child. That's the only way to bring a child into this world is through a woman. The perfect the vessel for new life being brought into this world. God's gift to this world. They produce milk out they tits. Mm-hmm. Babies drink that. Yeah. Smaller than a man. Physically, I'm gonna say this is gonna sound terrible, but physically inferior to a man, but in most cases mentally more superior. And you know that of course that differs with what gender or whatnot or what sex, but
of course
women for the most part are more stronger or more advanced intellectually. I remember growing up and they was telling me fucking females mature faster than boys. So while we was running around, we was all dumb and all the girls was, I don't know, smart for some fucking reason. But I can't say that was so smart based on the people I grew up with and some of the choices that those women made. Modern women. Right. But we ain't talking about that. All right. So some person, again, that you got all the details, but from what I saw, I'm gonna give y'all the layman's perspective. I saw some black chick, supposed like Supreme Court or some important to you humans title, was being asked what was a woman. Can she define woman? And this was after the Matt Walsh incident, if you recall that, where he asked what is a woman, and all of a sudden society don't know what the hell that was. So this black woman being used by these elites, these handlers, these whatever they are, and she out there taking the jabs, taking the punches to the face with this dumb shit, and she couldn't define what a woman is because she wasn't a biologist. Tell us what's going on with that, Ego, the specifics of that.
Okay, so woman in question is Kentanji Brown Jackson. She's currently the judge for U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. Her mother was a principal in Miami, and her father was also a teacher who actually wound up becoming an attorney for the school district where Brown Jackson actually went to high school. So she went to high school in Miami, went to Harvard, class of 92, and then went to Harvard Law, class 96. So the interesting thing about her is that, the pedigree would certainly be there in terms of possible qualifications. And Biden actually announced that he wanted to nominate her for the Supreme Court justice position on February 28th of 2022. The main reason that he's announcing her as the next judge is because that the current judge is actually stepping down. He's retiring at the end of the year. So now if there's a vacancy, you actually have to fill it. And it's the president's job to actually appoint the judge when one retires. So he actually chooses it, and then the Senate has to approve it for it to go through. So part of the issue that people are having with that is the fact that we're trying to go off of equality of opportunity and not necessarily equality of outcome. Biden said that he wanted her to be the judge, but he said that the next person he picked was going to be a black woman. And so you actually counted out a lot of candidates that may have been just as qualified because you wanted to check off some boxes. You said, I have to meet these two requirements for my next judge.
He wanted to get a competent enough nigga that was going to execute orders.
So, yeah,
who they coming from, I don't know, because Biden don't seem like he conscious enough to
make the decisions,
to send out some decisions, to tell anybody to do anything. So
exactly,
whoever pulling her strings, I don't know, but yeah, I got you. He put black folks in places because we can't get there by our own merit. We need
somebody help us, right?
Yeah.
So so as part of the process, you have to go through a judicial hearing whereby representatives, senators can ask you questions to determine how fit you are to be a judge. And so part of the questioning was, can you define a woman? And it appears that she could not answer this question because she said she's not a biologist. And why some people will say, well, why would you even ask? What would someone say as a stupid question during this kind of procedure or this hearing? Mm-hmm. Well, the logic behind that is if you can't answer what is assumed to be a basic question that just us discussing it define what a woman and a man is to us. If you can't define that, well, then how are you going to be able to take on these complicated tasks that are going to require your interpretation and enforcement of a judgment if you can't answer this basic question?
So it sounds... No, my bad.
No, go ahead.
Well, so it sounds like you're saying that this person is going to be looking over a lot of legislation, a lot of paperwork,
right?
Her interpretation. So, like, what are her thoughts on some things?
Right.
And like you said, from what you said, her resume, she had a whole lot of schooling. Yet can't answer something as basic as what is a woman, and that again, just from my perspective, that causes issues down the line. Because, like you said, with legislation, if this person can't interpret this shit, then who's to say? Or there's no telling as to what decisions. I'm just gonna say decisions she will make in the future,
right?
And that I guess what could be black and white as, okay, well, if a man do this, if a woman do this or some shit, well, I think it should be a person, not necessarily a woman, but I don't know how rules or legislation work. But it just kind of shows you that this person is, well, I never believed in school really. So you just showing how tenacious you are to get through the program or whatever. But again, that leads that can open the doors for some fuck shit to happen on down in the future, since we can't use widespread rhetoric, or we are not all on the same page of what fucking terms mean. Yeah, so it is a little like another situation where they put a blackface. To me, they put a blackface in front of, or to say some words, and I know the black community just gonna be like, "Ooh, that sister, she strong black woman, she slaying. Whatever she say, I'm with it. I'm down for it." So
I mean, you got to also see that Cory Booker was actually trying to give her props, and he started crying during this, saying how much you're going through a lot right now, and you can't no one take your shine, and you basically all the things you're saying. Yes, Queen slay, and it's like they're both having this crying moment, but it's there was none of this for either Justice Brett Kavanaugh nor Amy Coney Barrett, the other two justices that were appointed the year before last. So that was more of insinuations of either you're right wing or conservative, too conservative, or you're a rapist on some instances, because that's what the whole Brett Kavanaugh hearings were about. And so that was brought in by a woman that accused him of something that happened 30 years ago. She didn't know where it happened or when it happened, yet she actually was able to go on this huge stage and accuse someone something when he was actually just trying to be nominated as a justice. Compare that to someone that just can't answer what is supposed to be defined as a woman. They're not the same.
Gotcha.
I mean,
so I guess why is this so, or part of the reason why it's so important, we're going through it right now with the transgendered swimmer Leah Thomas, who doing how do I want to say it? Doing their thing on in the swimming, and so I guess as these rules come about to I think like checks and balances need to be put in
Right.
place for something like this, so that you don't have people to take advantage of this.
Right.
So when it comes to these type of things, like rhetoric is important. You know,
Right.
we need to be able to define who is receiving what type of, not necessarily benefit, but like what rule for what people. I think that
Right.
needs to be definitely defined. Um,
Right.
and I'm gonna say, just to get down to it, my point is, my view is, I really don't give a shit about sports. I give a shit
Okay.
about competition and
Fair.
people being great at something that they're passionate about.
Okay.
But so my thing was, let's make a trans league, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it, or if not that, then just combine them and throw all of them out there and let them just go at it. Now I feel like that'll be unfair to women for the most
Mhm.
part, but if we gonna mix and match fucking identities and genders and all that type of shit, then you know, if we can't have an honest conversation about what to do about this, then I just say fuck it, throw them all together and let's see what happens.
The weird thing is we kind of already do this with tennis. Like that's what mixed doubles is.
Mm-hmm.
It's and no one really cares. Like that you play mixed doubles, you win or you don't, you move on. But there isn't really a push to do this in other sports. You'd want it separate anyway because of the level of competition. You don't want to make you feel like it's diluted or you're making concessions for someone else to join in or play. If we have women in the NBA, does that mean we have to lower the rim to like 8 feet so that they may or may not be able to dunk? Now, frankly, if they did that, I would love to see a woman dunk on somebody else. That would be great. Like to see a
Okay.
chick tomahawk jam over another chick, that would be awesome.
But I thought that was brought up, and the females was like, "Ew, what are you trying to say? We can't dunk on the goal as high as the men or some shit."
No, well, the thing is, like, if the rim is 10 feet, how many women are 6'8" or
I
7 feet tall?
I feel you.
And so you're saying, well, hey, we'd have to make room. We have to make room for the obvious that there aren't that many tall women compared to tall men that play in basketball.
Yeah.
And as competitive as this is, you're going to want the competitive edge. We played kickball, we played football, we played basketball, and they chose to pick teams. You always chose either the strongest, the fastest, or the tallest,
Or the most aggressive.
or the most aggressive, right?
Gonna play hard, and ain't nobody. You playing football, you be like, "Ooh, that nigga, he gonna knock somebody over." Ain't nobody gonna get it. Play.
Right. And we're just talking pickup because as a child, well, hey, I've seen him play, and we're playing basketball. He's the tallest. He can score more points. He's on my team. If given that actual option to select, we're going to choose the fastest, the strongest, the most aggressive, the tallest, the biggest. And based on biology, that tends to be the men.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're doing that. Why are we having to make changes or concessions now? And the issue that I see is that it's only going one way.
Yeah.
It's about men that want to be women in women's sports. And you're seeing all these records being crushed by middle of the pack men in their own division. Now they're going to women's divisions, crushing all of their records, a la Leah Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And so with situations like that, you're almost going to need to have an asterisk to say, hey, this person was born biologically male and they should actually be competing in their own league. Either that or compete in the league assigned with your gender at birth.
Yeah. Which is what I think. I feel like if Leah Thomas wanted to, like, why did Leah have to switch to the women's division? Why you couldn't just do your thing, but stay over there in the men's where you were already competing with or competing at? Because it seems to me, if the trans argument is they want people to respect them and to accept them and let them live their lives, then he was perfectly fine doing that, swimming on the men's team.
Right.
The only issue he would have then is, like, I guess the people in the locker room bullying him, but the rest of the world wouldn't have gave a fuck. They would have just been like, that trans person up there swimming with the men, and then they're gonna
and that would have been it.
They're gonna see the estrogen kicking his ass more than the dude. So.
Right. I mean, so.
God,
it's because it's when it comes to the rights, we're not talking about how you choose to live your life as an adult, because we got our own things to worry about. We don't really care what you do in your day to day, because I've got to function and work on my day to day. However, when it comes to sports, you want it to be fair and equitable. You don't want you if you especially if you have a daughter, you want
Right.
to say, hey, you're gonna have to be smart, know what you're talking about. You're gonna have to practice day in and day out, and then all of a sudden, someone that was at the bottom of the pack in their field comes to your field and then blows it out of the water and doesn't create a fair environment for competition. And now that's a problem, because that's soul crushing.
So my response to that is so trans people have thrown me fucking articles and screenshots about this shit. And off the little bit that I did see off the top, because I'm tired of these motherfuckers always sending you information that you got to read up on to talk to them. But and it showed that he was doing worse in his division, I think, as he was taking his estrogen. So he wasn't, as a man, failing over there and then decide, okay, I'm gonna be a woman. You was just seeing the decline in his like performance as he was going through all the hormonal type shit, and then he ended
Mhm.
up switching to the females division. That's my response to that. So I mean, we can't definitely say that he was trash, so he did that because of that. But I do
Mhm.
fear for the future when so many men take that approach, where, like I
Mhm.
said in my video, the life is kicking their ass as a man, and they just gonna be like, well, you know what? Let me just be a
Right.
woman. Should it be much
It's the
easier?
benefits. Right.
Yeah. And a lot of, again, trans people would take that as, are you trying to say we terrible and we trying to do that? No, I'm saying people are terrible and are opportunistic. So they would try to take
Right.
advantage
Of the
of
situation. Yeah.
doors left open like that. So that's why I think
Yeah.
checks and balances definitely need to be put into place. But we can't do
Yeah.
that if these folks can't have honest conversations about what you was born as.
That's fair. And that's really the discussion we're trying to have.
Hmm.
Is, it's about being fair and equitable, and not just being opportunistic and, lazy at that point.
Yeah, because I don't think the average person is against it. Now, you can, if you talking about religion and all that, then like, yeah, that can come up, with some conflict. But my thing is, that's between you and God.
Right.
Men cannot judge. Let he, without sin, cast the first stone. And I'm like, bro, I'm sinful. I ain't trying to throw stones at nobody. But I do
Right.
feel that when you have people, like you said, like the daughter type thing, I want my daughter to grow in a world to where she can compete
Hmm.
fairly with other
Right.
females in her sport.
Right.
Or we gonna be raised in a fucking apocalyptic ass world to where it's just like everybody just be a fucking warrior and do what you can. And I'm like, all right, I train my daughter to be the best ass kicker she can, but there's a whole lot of daughters that just gonna be like, nah, that shit, hell
Not for me.
nah. Yeah, I'm not trying to go fight no niggas on no football field. Or hey, I see females playing rugby though, and they be, ooh, yeah, they be hitting. I think
Yeah.
it's rugby. So I mean, females are capable, but again, for the
Yeah.
most part, most females ain't
When
like
it's a
that.
fair playing field
Yeah,
for
yeah,
women. Yeah.
yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
yeah,
All right. So we wore that one out, man. That was nice.
yeah.
I
I mean, good conversation.
Yeah.
The conversation don't stop there. That's just our point on it. But we
Yeah.
ain't got nobody that's gonna oppose or say some other shit or advance the conversation. So I mean, we can only do
Yeah.
so much, but it's gonna take everybody else speaking up against this shit, or it's just gonna become a norm of society, and we're gonna reap what we sow from there.
Exactly. Agreed. All right. So what else you been noticing that you want to talk about? The next thing we got on here.
Um, well, I mean, what have you? Let's say we were supposed to be going to the gun range, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been working on some art. So, what type of personal things, like what type of hobbies, what have you, especially with the quarantine, with the lockdown and stuff,
Hmm.
because I mean that's slowly fading away somehow. That's not so much of an issue as it was. What have
Right.
you done, like personally, or since with the time that you've had to write, like be to yourself? What things have you taken up, or what have you seen from the world?
So I mean, I will put it like this. I was actually working as a a traveling hearing doctor for nursing homes. So I was actually out and about traveling to different nursing homes when COVID first started. And so they were saying, hey, put on a mask. Everyone's sick. We don't know what's going on. We think it's the flu. And then the next day, I caught it. 4 days later, my wife caught it. And then 6 weeks after that, we were locked down in Philly. And so when that started, it was a little rough not being able to work, but I was home all the time. And so it got to a point where my wife was really scared. She was saying, hey, we had a gun at the house, but it was my wife's that her mother had given her. And she was saying, well, hey, I'm really afraid because people are going crazy over toilet paper. They're fighting over milk. And I don't know if when things get scarce, how people are going to react. So she actually suggested, hey, we need another firearm in the house. And so at this point, I'd never even shot one. So I was looking to see what was available. I called different gun stores. And with part of the lockdown, a lot of them had to close. And so we wound up traveling 2 hours west of Philly to actually be able to get a gun. And so after we got the gun, I read up on some of the safety and I actually went to the gun range. And then, after that first round, I'm not going to lie, scared me. That first pull the trigger, it does kind of jar you and scare because it's so loud. But then you realize, oh, I'm the one that caused this. I can control this. And so with that started a gun habit. So with that, for people that don't know, the CN is for Coleon Noir. He is a Second Amendment advocate and an attorney in the Dallas area. And so with learning more about guns, I actually wanted to learn more about the Second Amendment, what it was for from the founding fathers, what its intentions were, to be a check on the government, not necessarily for self-defense, and what freedoms and some of the restrictions that have come with that. And so over, I guess, the last 2 years, I've been gaining, more proficiency with the guns that I do have, rifles. We've been to the range too and learned more about guns that way, some of the safety that's involved. And so it's actually been a really educating hobby and a really fun hobby for me. I think it's very important that, everyone should at least know about the Second Amendment. I understand not everyone likes or is comfortable with guns, but I do think that everyone should know how to use one for self-defense if it comes to that, because that's absolutely what it's for, outside of the check on government, which was the original founding fathers' purpose for the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
So all that to say, I really love guns, man.
They said people strap up because these niggas out here wilding, and they was talking about politicians.
Yeah. Yes, they were saying. It said, hey, we left Britain because they're oppressive, and if they start something like that, we're pulling up with the strap. I'm pulling up with this musket, and you're going to get this powder.
He said, boy, wait till I load this musket. I'm gonna load it in your Change that legislation, my nigga.
Thou knowest not who thou dealeth with.
Oh shit.
So go ahead.
So yeah, you was talking about that's how you kind of like got into the gun thing. Same here. So I grew up in the hood. So I was always, not necessarily around guns, but like gunshots, family members on that life would always have like, not in my home. My folks weren't exactly like that, but like again, family members, they got fucking guns laying around and shit. So I've always felt like that was just some hood shit. That was some thuggish shit. Like, why do you need that? And then, people shooting each other in the hood or just stuff like that. So I'm very opposed to guns. But that's not just because of that. That's because I'm all like natural and spiritual and whatnot. So I just feel like that's technology. I think that's too powerful for humans to hold or to have, to be responsible for. Yet they are here. And that is like you said, like, well, if they're here, then you should be able to know how to use a gun, utilize a gun, safety with guns, and how to, just how to be and how to respect the gun. So like you with the pandemic, I was like, folks wilding. We might, I'm good with the hand-to-hand type stuff, and I got my blunt weapons around the house, but I think somebody brought it to my attention. If it wasn't you, somebody was like, well, shit, what if, I know you definitely said like, well, people ain't running up just one-on-one trying to
Right.
do
Yeah.
stuff. Like they got their little squad, they got their little pack. So you might need
Yeah.
something that's gonna take out the whole bunch in a little
Yep.
bit of time. So yeah, that's why me and you, like, we've been going to the range, and I've been excited about that because I'm like, you know what, I need to be Deadpool. I need to be lethal with these things, instead of, because you just being scared of them. Then it's like, well, shit, with a gun ain't gonna shoot me, and then if a gun finally get in my hand,
Right.
I'm like a fucking
Right.
retard with it. So I gotta get my shit together. So that's what I've been on with the gun stuff. Still not as into it as you.
Yeah.
But again, it is a skill that we should have if it's just respecting it.
Right.
In my experience at the gun ranges, is everybody, these white dudes that you could say they have the racist look or that conservative look, but they've been nothing
Right.
but wonderful,
Oh
respectful,
yeah.
and for a wealth of knowledge and teaching you like how to be comfortable with the guns, just again how to respect the guns. So my introduction into this gun world has been amazing. And then like the Kyle Rittenhouse trial is like, oh, okay, it was opening to my eyes. So like
Yeah.
having a gun is important. But just I'm gonna say self-defense is important. Us having agency over our own life.
Yeah.
Whatever that look like, I feel like if a person decides that they bold enough to run up on you and take your shit, then however you respond to that, they
You
ask.
earned it.
Yeah, it's like it is what it is from there. And that is a God-given right that I'm
Yes.
seeing humans are. It's like humans, sure, politicians, handlers, or whatever, are trying to take the place of God and tell us how to go about our lives.
Right.
And that is an issue that I'm seeing, and I'm trying to do what I can to be knowledgeable of these things when they're happening and use my voice. And I'm not the most intellectual, the smartest person ever, but if I hear enough good shit, then I can form a good opinion and be like, But I've always been, again, a spiritual person, or I knew God was my Lord and Savior, and they teach us faith, and as long as you believe in Him and you do the work, everything gonna work out. So I was like, dang, if that's the case, why are we looking so much into a politician, or to have our best interests, or to make good decisions on our behalf? So that's my thing. I don't consider myself a libertarian as attaching myself to a party, but I'm all like, man, fuck people. Just what God gonna do, how He gonna help us to move better. So that's been
I
my
got you. Okay. And I mean, I guess I would say to your point about people trying to appoint politicians to kind of legislate how we're supposed to live in terms of, guns and things like that. I think that people don't want to approach the fact that life can be dangerous. There are dangers involved. I mean, you really could get hit by a car, but 3 or 4 people could run up on you when you're coming home. There is the I guess what I'm saying is there is the possibility for danger. You can get robbed, you can get stabbed, you can be shot. And so rather than take that own agency, like you said, by training with martial arts, getting a dog to alert you, or even learning how to manipulate a firearm, you would rather just what's the word, like outsource that type of agency to politicians because we think that they have all the answers.
Yeah.
And they're people just like us. But more importantly, when you're in office, you have armed security. So these people that are trying to take guns away from you, if a problem comes to them, they have security that handles that. Us as, I guess, common citizens, we don't have that access to security like that. So our security would have to be in the firearm or the gun or the dog or the martial arts.
We got access to a squad of people that are going to respond after whatever has happened to you has happened.
That is fair.
And they're going to fill out some paperwork and go on about it.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think it's just people don't want to, they don't want to look at the fact that life is dangerous, but your safety is in your hands. You know, you have to be proactive, you know, into what you were saying. You know, you may not have been comfortable around guns, but you said, well, regardless, I still need to know how to use one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and if a nigga trying to shoot me from a little ways off, I want to be able to be quick draw McGraw, pull that thing out, and act some Red Dead Redemption on them.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I pull that thing up. Thought you had a fuck, nigga. All right. Speaking
my god.
Speaking of agency or people taking control of their own lives, race swap characters.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
Better yet, these I ain't gonna say a specific race. People making characters, okay, changing or race swapping white characters to be black. Okay, I call that serving chitlins. Or these people using black people to push their agendas, to push their narratives. Specifically, what happened recently, the Buzz Lightyear movie, and them putting in the lesbian kiss scene in it or whatnot. And of course, she's a strong black independent woman that don't need no man.
Yeah, so I mean, I know that Disney's movie for Buzz Lightyear, I think it's Star Command.
That nobody asked for.
Not really. I mean, at this point, I think they're just running out of things to make a prequel about because no one asked about Buzz Lightyear before he became Buzz Lightyear. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so there's supposed to be a scene in there where there's two women that kiss, right? And Disney actually asked the producer's director to actually cut the scene. And so with the bill that Ron DeSantis is considering signing, which is House Bill 1557, we'll talk about the actual parts in that later. With the uproar that it's caused against some liberals, they actually decided to put the scene back in to actually, you know, champion LGBTQ, all of the letters. Like, hey, we're all about you guys. We put the scene back in. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I mean, for me, it's like, well, you did that as an appeasement, number one. But more importantly, Disney is a brand that's global. And as such, when you release a movie, you want to release it globally, which means you're going to need all the money you can get from the box office, which means in other countries, you have to do what conforms to their customs and their culture, which means when they show this movie in China, Dubai, or Saudi Arabia, that scene's not going to be in there at all.
Yeah, if they get approved to. So the thing is, either they're going to have to cut it out to get it shown over there, or they're going to hold their nuts and say, we ain't cutting none of our gay shit out.
Nah, they're not doing that, movie. Nah, man. They did that, and they tried to pull that in Eternals. They cut that scene overseas.
They said, we're going to keep it gay as fuck in America.
Nah, man. They were like, ooh, dollars overseas? Yeah. Well, we'll cut that scene. It's a short scene anyway.
Yeah.
But you know, it's you understand it's a business. So when you're a global brand like Disney, you're going to do whatever you need to do or say whatever you need to say to appease your audience that's going to spend money on your product. So they appease the people that just are going to go see it just for the women kissing scene. And that's it. They'll watch it several times and celebrate how progressive and open and whatnot it is.
Somebody gonna say, "Ooh, my black daughter saw themselves in the gay female character." And they're gonna buy all type of rainbow shirts.
And that's where I have a problem because this is the thing. Whatever Disney tries to do a first when it involves same sex, the two times that I've seen it happen are with this Buzz Lightyear movie and the Eternals. Both times the characters were black. And that's where I have a problem, is because if statistically by numbers, there would technically be more gay white people than black people, just purely based on numbers, then it would be follow that line of logic that if you're going to do a first, it will be 2 white men, 2 white women, whatever. The fact that you chose twice to make them first a black man that was gay and now a black lesbian, I have a problem with you trying to push the fact that these characters are usually going to be minorities. because it doesn't look it makes them look like they're championing a right. And I understand that there are gay and lesbian actors that happen to be different ethnicities that aren't white. The only problem is that when you keep up that pattern, it makes it seem like Black people are the mascot for other identity groups instead of us standing on our own and actually just telling a story where the character happens to be gay, happens to be lesbian, happens to be whatever.
Kind of like that black lady talking about she don't know what a woman is. They using her to
full circle.
Like fucking.
Hence why we said that. Go ahead.
Like fucking Valkyrie, going by King Valkyrie in the next door movie.
Right.
You know, after her being a race swap character, now on top of that, now she a lesbian.
Right.
And to my knowledge, Valkyrie had some type of was a love interest at Thor, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Okay, yeah, like at some point, besides like Jane Foster or some shit, but
right.
I recall seeing Valkyrie having like feelings or love for Thor or some shit. So her and Hela had Enchantress. Was it Enchantress? Loki's female. It don't matter. It don't matter. But seeing that, yeah, so she went from loving on Thor to being black to being like, fuck that Thor nigga. I need some vagina in my life, some Asgardian puss. So yeah, it seems like they're using us to push their agendas.
Right.
And that's why I feel so compelled to speak on it, because I'm like, again, Black folks just see black skin and they just like, oh yeah, we doing it, representation. Fuck them white folks, take their white face out here, put a black face on. But I'm like, damn, y'all not paying attention to all of the disrespect associated with the race swapping of these characters. Like I was telling somebody, fucking Miles Morales, who's a tokenized Peter Parker, tokenized Spider-Man. And that story, on top of it being some black struggle family movie, the Miles was not smart enough to create his own web shooters or like his own spider equipment. You had to have the white man, Peter Parker, come from the main, the actual universe,
hand-me-downs,
and bestow upon Miles some web shooters and give him his blessing. So I'm like, when black people look at that, and again, they just see Black Spider-Man, then it's like, okay, so what you're saying is you love taking a white man name, no issue there. I'm colonized myself, you know what I'm saying? My last name Jones, so it's like I'm not exactly mad at you. I understand we products of that, but you're praising it. You're praising it. That's the issue. They letting you call you dumb to your face, or tell you that black women, you don't need no man. You know what I'm saying? Fuck the man. You strong. You can do it on your own. So now you got black women laid up in the home by themselves, getting old, with all the burdens of, you know what I'm saying, whatever life, the burdens of life, you know.
Yeah.
What's your thought?
No, I mean, well, so it's a few things. It goes in different directions, but I'll try to make it as simple as I can in my head, and then kind of the thoughts behind it. So, I mean, you have to have an appreciation of culture. That's what we try to have with Black History Month, which for me, I don't really like the concept of Black History Month. I don't need a month for someone to tell me about myself. If I want to actually read about myself, my culture, I'll read that on my own. I don't want someone force feeding me the same old stories and telling me how great I am. I can read that and find that for myself. However, if we place such a premium on appreciating culture, so much that we get upset when people try to appropriate any other culture, for example, then you have to understand that to other groups, the fact that you keep race swapping these characters is a disrespect for their culture. You know, if you're thinking about just Norse mythology in general, I have not heard of anyone that was not white in just description only. You know, hell, even Heimdall from the Thor series, the one is Idris Elba, he's actually white because it's all Norse mythology. Yeah. So people that are Norse made characters and they came up with their own mythology based on characters that looked like them. And so with you going around changing the characters, either gender, ethnicity, or even sexuality, that's a total disrespect for the history of the character that's been built up. Yeah. And so, all right, now, if Black people are okay taking these things and changing them around to fit what they want to see in themselves, rather than tell original stories from our own culture the way we made them from our own creators, then don't be surprised if in 15 years Nicolas Cage is Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Or, it's like, you know what? I really think that Jackie Chan or Donnie Yen should be the next Static Shock.
Yeah.
Because we really need to highlight these the
Yeah.
Chinese culture. We'll just take a Black character, because if they're willing to do that to them, they're going to do it to us. And we'll have no one to blame but ourselves, because we were okay with taking from someone else's culture.
We champion that shit.
And champion it, yeah. And so now that it comes to us, it's going to be a problem. And so I say this because I was actually reading a book on libertarianism, and I think it's an economist named Hayek. In the 1970s, he did a principle about redistributive justice, right? He basically made it very simple and said, like, if there are 10 apples, right? You got 7, I got 3. And then someone from outside of that comes around and says, hey, Antoine, why do you have 7 apples and Ego only has 3? You know what? Ego should have 8 and you should have 2. But they're not considering the fact that AJ, you actually have an apple tree. Mm-hmm. So the apples that you have are picked from your tree and they fall to me. I just get the 3 that fall off the tree. Now, if you do that and now I got 8 apples and you got 2, when my apples are gone, you got the 2. Well, if someone else comes around again and says, well, why does Ego have 8 and AJ has 2? It should be 5 and 5. It's a circle that doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Instead of asking, okay, well, AJ has an apple tree, so all the apples that are from his apple tree belong to him. And if he decides to sell those apples to Ego, then we've got commerce, we've got a relationship, we have trade. That's how things are supposed to work. You look at the creator, the source material, and then you go off of that. And if you want to say, well, hey, here's a character that happens to be Black on the tree of these stories, here's the apple. You actually can do with that what you want, because that character actually is original. That's a Black character, that's a female character, whatever. And you use that, and you take the seeds from that and you plant a whole tree of characters that branch off from that. That's the creativity we're actually asking for. Yeah. That's how you create original Black characters or Latino characters or Chinese characters. It doesn't mean that you can always create a new one, or you can just pluck from the tree of characters that are already available. And so, I'm looking on some of the research that I've been doing on race swap characters. I think ever since if you include characters from the 70s, there have been 27 race swaps in the last 10 years.
Are you saying? I'm talking. My bad. Keep going.
No, I'm talking in terms of movie and TV. And this was just looking at redheads that got replaced by Black people. It's like 27 of them. And it included like anywhere from saying Iris West from the Flash TV show. Like, she's actually a redhead, but they made her Black. Or Jimmy Olsen, Superman's friend. White guy, red hair, he's Black. Mm-hmm. And so you see a pattern with them specifically swapping out characters to make them Black when we already have our own characters that we created. Why aren't we asking for more of our own characters from our own creators? And the minute someone gives us what's deemed sloppy seconds or chitlins, like you say, we're celebrating how diverse and inclusive it is when it's blackface.
Let me ask you this. I think that is a cultural thing. I can only speak from my experience, but why is it that for the most part, white people are the majority in like nerdy type shit? And I guess you could say minorities are the minority of in that demographic of like nerdy shit. I'm not saying that's a terrible thing, but I was always in the comics growing up, and like people want to keep saying white man bad. There was not a white man that told me you can't read comics. That's some white folk shit. Like, that's Black people don't do that. It was the Black kids around me that was saying that. Why you reading that? That's some white folk shit. Like, you super nerdy, like you're not acting Black.
Right.
So, and me being young, looking at these characters, I was like, okay, I can see that there are not a lot of people that look like me, but there are some. But I didn't even gravitate towards those characters because they were not just cool characters to me. They were cool to a whole lot of other people. They weren't
Yeah.
cool to me. And I was just like, well, okay, well, shit. I just want to make comic books, and I'm just going to make some more black characters, as well as other races of characters. However the fuck I'm feeling. But it was just like I never had the mindset of, oh my God, what if Captain America was black, or what if Spider Man
Right.
was black? So
Right.
how do you feel that became a cultural thing? Shit, it even happened with skateboard. When I took up skateboard, everybody in the hood was telling me, "Them niggas trying to be white. Y'all ain't white. What y'all doing all that?" So where do you think that came from? Where black people allow ourselves, to be put in like this box, and if you try to go outside of this box, then you're not black, especially with like nerdy type shit. Where do you think that came from?
I don't know. I think part of it just could be upbringing and culture. Sometimes when you see something that doesn't look like what you've seen or what you're raised around, the automatic assumption is, oh, you do it because you're white or because you got a lot of white friends. And it's like, well, as a child, you just grow up and you gravitate towards some things because it's fun or it's funny. Like my favorite character is that guy right there, the Flash. And I like Wally West version. He was energetic. He was funny. Like everyone in the Justice League loved Wally. He was the one character that's like, well, if all the rest of us go bad, I can never see Wally West going bad because he's the heart and soul of the Justice League. He's everyone's friend. And those are actually characteristics that I wanted for myself, that I saw myself. I was always the new guy anyway, but people actually liked me. So I actually gravitated with that character. I guess part of the issue is because if certain black people don't see that or get exposure to that growing up, anything that doesn't seem familiar to them, they automatically cast it out and say, oh, it's because you're white or you got white friends. And it's like, well, no, I'm doing the things that I like and I love. And so as you get older, you almost find out later in life that there are other black people that were into the same things that you were into, but it's like telling a scary campfire story. Like, I went to the comic book store and I got an anime comic. It was in manga.
Then I'm like,
right, but don't tell nobody.
I'm saying that geek ass
shit. And then you find and you're like, oh, you're into the same thing. Yeah, we just read comics really like, and you find out that there are other black people that read comics or enjoy it. And when I actually go to comic conventions. The first one I ever went to was in 2016, and it was in Denver. I went dressed up as Green Lantern. Like I had on the Under Armour tight shirt with the Green Lantern emblem on it and everything. And I will be honest, like everyone that was white was really friendly. It wasn't like there's like, oh, take that off. You're not the real Green Lantern, or you're not the real Green Lantern. No, they were just, oh my God, I love your costume. Can take a picture with you. Oh my goodness, how'd you put that together? And so
look at this John Stewart ass nigga.
Right, at least you know who it is, John Stewart. And so the thing is that usually I think that for certain black people that may not feel comfortable getting into something, if you do, you might have someone that is white. They're just like, oh, it's just a thing to do because we read comics. You read picture books. So it's not a hard leap to figure out you'd read comics. And so if you got access to comics, you read comics, you might have access to something that someone else may not have. And that could be black or white. And they see you with it and they can put you down for it because they don't have it. Yeah. And so it could be partly culture or jealousy. I don't know if it's all the black people that, I've been around in that regard, but I mean, it was just that it was a fact that it was a lot later on in life that I found out more black people were reading comics, because I mean, it's already kind of a niche thing anyway. And there aren't a lot of people that do it. So the minute you find out that someone's interested in comics, you might not care what they look like. You're like, oh my God, we're into the same comics. Well, hey, I got volume 1. You got volume 2. Well, I got volume 5. Do you have volume 6? You wind up creating a friendship and a community around a hobby. And if it's a small hobby or a niche hobby like action figure collections or comics, there aren't a lot of people in general that are into that. So the minute you find a connection, you want to hold on to that. You don't wrap your entire identity in it, but it's something that you really enjoy and something that you really enjoy with another person.
Yeah.
We may not read the same comics, but we both love comics. So we can trade comic books all day long because we like that. We just happen to be two black guys that do that.
And from different perspectives in comics, you can introduce people to other comics. Like, it's so
Yeah.
many people that only think comics is fucking Marvel or DC. I'm like, there's
Right.
so many other, like, not even indie shit, but yes, you got indie shit, but there are more companies besides Marvel and DC, and like, comics don't just stop at just superheroes in spandex. Like, when I got
Yeah.
into comics, I went in there and I think I said it before on the stream that when I went in there when I became a diehard like comic book fan, at that time they was doing like all new, all Marvel type shit where they was introducing all of these race swap characters and all these female characters. And I was like, hold on, ain't none of them the people that I know and that I seen. So then I started picking up just indie shit. Like, that's when I picked up Chew, where dude eating stuff.
Wow.
And like,
Yeah.
I was just like, hey, all these American comics look, well, not American, but yeah, all these Marvel and DCs look lame. Let me try something else. And then
Right.
and I'm a big art person. So as soon as I look through another book and I see some
Right.
cool ass art, I'm like, okay, let me see what this is about. And I
Right.
think that as a creator myself, or an aspiring comic creator, that boosted my enthusiasm, because I was like, wow, there's a whole nother world of comics. So now I'm not restricted to telling a superhero story. I can talk
Right.
about other shit. Like, you got horror graphic novels. Like,
Yeah.
the idea of a graphic novel, you know what I'm saying? I was just like,
Right.
what the fuck is that? That's a thick book with a whole bunch of like comic story. Like that's dope. But when you were saying like the jealousy thing, I want to say I do think it is somewhat of a jealousy thing, but I don't think it's actually malicious
Yeah.
when people do it, because although I was in the hood, again, my parents wasn't on like no hood shit.
Right.
So I was the most privileged, I would think, because I had both of my parents in the household. Like, financially, my dad broke his back to like take care of us. My mom
Right.
was involved with my schoolwork. So I had hands-on parents, and I knew family members and friends of mine who, like, didn't have a father, or their mom that was there was like not in the house. Like, they eating ramen noodles and hot dogs all day type shit, or they roaming the streets, you know what I'm saying? So people would like come to my folks' house to like take refuge, because they knew my folks were gonna like take care of them. So I do think that there's a jealousy thing, because once black kids maybe saw a black kid doing some other shit that wasn't, let's say, hustling or like pursuing sports or something, they was like, maybe this is me just thinking. I'm like, maybe they was like, okay, well, this this dude got extra time on his hand. This dude got it good, so he messing around on some still childish shit, as opposed to others who were kind of forced to grow up. Like, I still watch cartoons to this day, but I would watch cartoons and I give a fuck who was watching. Was judging, and they would always say, bro, you still watch that kid shit? I'm like, nigga, it's entertainment. Yes, like,
It is.
why not? And also because, like, again, I'm trying to be a comic book creator. I'm trying to be a cartoonist to some degree. So although this is entertainment and I'm studying, I'm opening myself up to that world, besides the only world that black folks could tell me was doing tattoos, or maybe some nigga said graphic design or something. But I know for sure tattoos or graffiti, like, I can't think of any professions that was really brought to my attention. But as I started to pursue other things, that's when I was like, okay, I don't fit into this black box that they trying to put me in. Like, I sucked at sports. You know what I'm saying? I would play them, but I was like, I don't plan on doing this shit seriously. Like, rapping is fun. I can do it well, but I didn't want to take it seriously. I don't want that to be just me. But I've been talking a whole lot, but that's what I think. When I say, like, I do think some people are jealous, because that shows that you have extra time and life is not so stressful that you can go read a picture book, even into your older age, or, into maturing. So yeah, I do think there's a jealousy thing. But what I mean is, like, as a culture, why do black people close? Why do we close ourselves off from stuff? Which is closing ourselves off from a lot of opportunity. Honestly, do you have
Uh,
thoughts on that?
why we do it? Uh, I would say this. I mean, for me, the only privilege that you can have is two parents in the household, right? So when you have that kind of privilege and you actually get to grow up and have a childhood, you're actually open to a lot of things, more things. You're not forced to grow up before
Yeah,
you should. You're
you're
not
right.
forced to make harder decisions about what you want your life to be like or what it's going to be like. And so it's like you actually have a widened view of things instead of something that's incredibly myopic and you have tunnel vision on it. Right. So with that being open, you're actually actively looking for things. Well, hey, am I interested in comic books? Am I interested in the drawing aspect of it, or do I like the stories? You know what? I like art. Does that mean that I like sculpting or that I actually like painting? So when you're in that frame of mind, you're actually open to other avenues. And I think that kind of emanates in your personality. People can tell if you're usually receptive to them. And the people that know that you're going to be receptive to them are more likely to actually let you know about, hey, you don't have to do graffiti. Have you ever thought of comic book design? I wanted to be a medical doctor. It wasn't until I was in grad school that my mom and my audiologist were like, well, hey, have you ever thought of, becoming an audiologist for treating hearing and balance disorders? Because all I was told is to be a doctor. I didn't know that there were other kinds outside
Yeah.
of OBGYN, surgeon, ophthalmologist, ear, nose, and throat doctor, but being open to my doctor led me to the career that I have now. So I think that when you're allowed to actually have a childhood, look at your options, take a realistic approach, have parental input and mentor input, you're actually open to a lot more opportunities and not just having to choose something and just go with that because you have to grow up fast and no one else is going to teach you.
And that's the norm. That's just what you've seen, and to your idea, it worked. Um, I do get what you're saying on the some people having to grow up faster, because before I came out here to Texas, I was working with children, troubled youth. I think
Yeah.
I told you about that.
Mhm.
And like this whole representation idea that people are like speaking of and how that's so important. I've realized that I get what they saying. You want to see like colored characters. You want to see characters that look like you.
Mhm.
But before that, I realized that you need people in your life to help
Right.
you to mature and to think critically and to find value in yourself or in the things that you do, stuff like that. I'm saying that because I was talking to somebody on this post, a Disney post,
Mhm.
and they were saying like because Minnie Mouse was wearing pants or some shit, and they was like, oh my
Oh
god,
yeah. Yeah.
all the
Pantsuit.
girls, yeah, all the girls that want to wear pants can do it now, and feel confident because Minnie is doing it. And I was like, uh, as the conversation progressed, I was their reasoning, or one of their points was that a lot of children don't have great mentors or people, adults in their lives, and so they need that representation on screen. She
To
said,
serve
like,
that purpose. Yeah.
right. And she said, like, children that grow up in a foster system, or, children of the state. And I was like,
Mhm.
I used to work as someone who used to work in for the state in charge of those children. I understand and I know that them kids honestly didn't give a damn about what cartoon or what show they was watching. They more so value the people around them because they didn't have parents. So they value
Right.
their staff and try to, I'm gonna say, try to form healthy relationships, sometimes unhealthy. But they started to see like, oh, you're a good person. I like how
Right.
you move as opposed to what I've been taught and what I went through.
Right.
You kind of introduced me to the world. And if these children didn't have good mentors or staff
Right.
members to kind of take on those roles somewhat, within respectable, within healthy boundaries and whatnot, then you could get a fucked up staff member that wouldn't even let you watch TV. You know what I'm saying? Not
Right.
letting you watch
Yeah.
cartoon, not letting you read your book for a whole hour instead of just like 30 minutes or whatnot. So it's like, yeah, I get what they saying by people wanting to see themselves and feel better about themselves. But again, it's about how can we put good people in place or in charge of these children to instill good values in these children so that they do see cartoons and
Right.
know what to take from it. Um,
Right.
like kids watching superhero shit, like you understand, be a good person. Great power
Right.
comes great responsibility. Do all you
Right.
can with the power that you have to make a difference, to make somebody else's life better. So yes, media does serve its purpose, and it can. So that's the thing. It can be used to instill greatness in people, and it can also be used to brainwash, manipulate,
Right.
influence people in crazy um directions. So I
Mhm.
definitely get what you mean by growing up fast and not having that. So again, to that I would say try to have good mentors or older people around you.
Yeah.
Um, not I don't want to keep talking, bro. You got anything you want to say?
Nah,
Okay.
bro. I mean, I like hearing your stream of consciousness. I understand what you're saying. It's on point. Especially, I didn't even know about the children of the state. Like, I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah.
You're right. Your introduction is something that's going to form, the way you look at the world. So it is a giant responsibility. But if you find that a child can find someone that can trust and mentor, it opens up a whole new world and a whole new possibility for them. So, I mean, that was actually, I hadn't even thought about that. So, I mean, I guess that's why we both appreciate each other's perspectives, because it helps fill in some gaps, you know?
Yeah, so when the person said that, I was like, you know what? I definitely get what you're saying, and I would be lying if I said that no cartoon or movie contributed something good in me, or some type of value, because that's really what entertainment was. Definitely in the 90s, I do think it was
Right.
pure. I don't see all this narrative pushing or all this agenda pushing
Right.
that's going on. I think it was like Lion King, for instance. I guess we
I
can
was thinking that too.
yeah, like Lion King is my favorite movie. So I'm gonna say real quick, by me being adopted, I don't know if I told you already, but I was adopted. So I was like somewhat a
Okay.
child of the state type thing or whatever going on.
Uh-huh.
And my mom told me that they bought me the Lion King movie. And I used to pop that movie in, and I would just get some type of happiness by being in a stable home and a stable environment. But watching that movie. And I can say for sure that is when I first wanted to start drawing or cartooning, when I saw
Okay.
the Lion King. Because I was like, okay, you're using animals, like this is animation, but again, I'm a child.
Yeah.
So like the songs and the vivid colors and all that type of shit, all of that made stuff like death, like Mufasa, dying, Simba crying when his dad was actually dead, and he was like, "Come on, wake up, we gotta go. Like this ain't real."
Mm-hmm.
Seeing them use Scar and how manipulative he was, and them introducing like your own family members can be out to get you. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right. Yeah.
just shit like that I felt like was introduced to a child that helped
Mm-hmm.
again introduce real world issues, but in a more digestible way for a child. So I definitely
Yeah.
see the importance of media. But again, I'm watching a fucking movie with lions on the screen. Like I didn't have
Yeah.
to be a black person to understand these concepts.
Right.
You look at,
Right.
I definitely think kids look at that character and they be like, okay, what
Right.
is Simba going through? How does Simba feel about this?
Right.
What is Nemo going through? How does Nemo feel about this? So yeah, I think representation is a mask that they putting on that I guess don't have to be on. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
just if they
Yeah.
just make good content, again, prioritize the story and the hero's journey, going through some shit, some fucked up shit, some good times, some bad times, to become a
Mm-hmm.
better person than you were yesterday or at the beginning of this journey. And life gonna take it from there. You'll find value
Yeah.
in yourself there. Because then you
Yeah.
find value in your experiences and what you're doing as opposed to what you look like or who you having
Right.
sex with, or what politician you voted for. Um, yeah, man.
Mhm.
That's all I got to
No,
say about
no, I was gonna say, I mean, I guess the beauty of the way you're describing Simba is like the fact that it's actually Hamlet with animals.
Yeah.
Like for theater kids, you watch the movie, you realize it's a Shakespearean tale with lions, and then you wind up being in high school like, hey, the what's what I'm looking for, the inspiration from the Lion King comes from Shakespeare's Hamlet, and so it gets you deeper into something that might be your craft, but like someone was able to actually break down Hamlet for a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old. Like that's very hard to do without. And it's very hard to do when you're not pushing an agenda. You're just saying, hey, this is a story of Hamlet. I'm going to let you watch it and play it out. You got, Timon and Pumbaa are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. You've got all these characters that are supposed to represent other characters from literature over 400 or 500 years old.
Yeah.
And you're able to adeptly switch mediums from a play to animation because those concepts are universal. It's not just a lion problem, not just a black problem, not just a white problem. You're dealing with the loss of the patriarch of your family, and it's your fault. It teaches you can't run from responsibility. You have to take your place and provide protection and provision for your pride. That's your family.
Or I don't mean to cut you off, but you said
go ahead.
You said you realize it's your fault. Actually, it wasn't his fault, but I think that is another good life lesson, because a lot of times terrible things go on in our life and we do feel responsible. It'll be like, damn, that's my fault. Which Scar did, manipulate Simba in that way, make him think it was his fault. But Simba had to be like, that was just circumstance.
I will say it was responsible for the death and the fact that he did get manipulated, but Mufasa was only there because he was trying to protect his son. So it's like, I understand. Yeah. So it's like, you're right. It's both of us right. You can feel responsible for something bad happening to someone else, but it doesn't mean you have to run from it. You are going to have to face it.
And showing by you running from it, the problem is only getting worse. Or now there's a bunch of more problems as a result of you not kind of taking care of that thing or actually addressing that thing and being able to put it behind you. After it's being resolved. So you got his kingdom that was being taken over by Scar and how they was depleted of resources and all that type of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so I guess we talking about Disney movies right now, because now I'm going over to again this magical age of Disney when I feel like it was purely when it was really like telling good story as opposed to what it is down there, like what agenda. I'm not going to say that they're thinking exactly what agenda can we push, but more so, how do we uplift this group of people? Maybe it's more evil than that, but I think that's their line of thinking right now. As opposed to back then, it was like, okay, what story can we tell? Not narrative we push. What story can we tell, and what animals can we do it with?
That's I would since we're talking about Disney and the golden age, I'm not gonna lie, bro. My favorite Disney movie is, now that I'm thinking about, The Little Mermaid. Okay. Swear to God, don't make fun of me on that one. I'm just thinking about it and I realize it. So backstory about me. All right, cool. Well, because backstory with me is, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, backstory with me is I was homeschooled till I was almost 13.
Yeah.
And so I have 3 younger brothers. And so you wake up in the morning, you do your school lesson plan in your little, call them Abeka books. You do your math for that day, the science for that day, the social studies for that day, and some Bible verses. And so you're doing all this. You actually and I'm finished at like noon. I got to wait for the other kids to come home from public school at 3:00 to come out and play, but they got homework to do. So I actually felt a lot like Ariel did. Like, you feel like you're in the ocean, everyone's living above you, and that there's this whole other life that you feel like you're missing out on. The Who's My Bobbits and the whatchamacallits were like, well, what's this homework you got? Or, what you're playing for the football team? What's that like? And so I didn't actually go to public school until I was like 15. And so it is a big world that you are exposed to, and just like the whole Ursula thing with the curse, basically it's saying, that's letting you know that when you get something, there's not going to be a better choice. It's just there are going to be trade-offs you have to make. Yeah. Ariel got her legs, but she lost her voice. I go into public school, you get to be around different people, but some of those people may not always be good for you. And
Yeah.
so that's one of my favorite movies because those are concepts that I was looking at it for. I felt the same way Ariel did. Like, does that mean I identify as a mermaid with red hair? No. I just, you
Yeah.
know what? I understand that because I feel like there's a big world out there and I feel restricted. I know my parents were doing their best in homeschooling us because it put me ahead a lot and on track, but it didn't change the feeling of there's this big world and I can't wait to get out there and experience it. You
Yeah.
know, and again, universal concepts, no real agenda, just explaining to you, you know, if you feel like an outsider or feel restricted, you know, go out and experience the world. Doesn't mean you're going to get everything that you want. And it doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some trade-offs that you pay for. But in that experience, like that's what it's about. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's why it's probably one of my favorite movies that I could think of off the top of my head.
I think a lot of so I didn't gravitate towards the I guess female or like the princess stories,
Mhm.
but I was a Disney kid, so I watched all of them, and I'm knowledgeable of I'm gonna say most Disney movies, especially like the main ones. Um,
Mhm.
but I feel you with the aerial thing. This whole other world up there, and you're just kind of like stuck in your bubble. I was that. I was the sheltered kid. My mom had me listening
Yeah.
to gospel. Like I couldn't even listen to rap music for a certain while. I had a reading period. You know what I'm saying during the day.
Yeah.
So just like more structured but I was seeing everybody else run around the hood and getting to, go to the skating ring and hang out and chase honeys and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I do feel you on like, dang, this is the grass greener on the other side. Like,
Right.
does the air taste better like up there
Right.
on the surface? But speaking of like female characters, so I grew up with the OGs. I'm gonna say Mulan is probably my favorite female Disney character,
Mm. Okay.
and that's I'm gonna say she was inspirational because her thing was she was doing it for her father, like going into war. Have you seen Mulan?
Oh yeah, the soundtrack for that's fire, man.
Okay, yeah.
The soundtrack's fire.
So she wasn't making like a statement or trying to do
Right.
protect her country. She was like, I'm trying to be
Mhm.
there in the place of my father because I care about him and his well-being. So that was my favorite Disney female like led movie because she was like, this is a woman that you think is like opposed to aggression and war and fighting and all that type of stuff. These little dainty little flowers. But she was like, fuck
Mhm.
that shit. You know what I'm saying? If it's for my dad who's sick, hell no, I'm not about to send him to his death. You know what I'm saying? I'm an able
Yeah.
body. I'm gonna go out there. And then you see her and this was not just for women, this was for like the smaller dude compared to all the big dudes like you
Yeah.
saw her in the camp. It was like sometimes you ain't going out athlete. Sometimes you got to outthink these people for you to just be seen as a respectable team member on the playing field.
Oh
uh
yeah.
so yeah, and the fact that she was a woman doing her thing, I'm like, that made it even better.
Yeah.
uh I think my thing with a great female character is don't just show me that she's stronger than the men, because it's
Right.
only a matter of time before some man gonna come and be stronger than her. Show me a
Right.
woman that can use her smarts as well as be as physically capable of the men or can hold her own with the men. And that's a female that I'm be like, you know what I'm saying? She bad. She need to be on the squad. Like a
Right.
Storm or a Jean Grey, you know what I'm saying, on the
Right.
squad. It's like
Yeah.
team ain't complete unless you got them.
On your time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I said this before, like men don't care if they teammate is a man or a woman, as long as you can
Mm.
complete the job and be efficient at it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Props to you. You know what I'm saying? Big ups to you. I said I think we get on men more if they can't do it, because now we
Oh
call you
yeah.
pussy or you slow, you weak, you ain't a real
Yeah.
man type shit. So it's harder for slow men out here. Women can get by a little bit.
Ah.
But yeah, that's my favorite female. But as far as like another big Disney movie of mine, I want to say Tarzan. Uh,
Oh yeah.
and again, by
Yeah.
me being adopted, you know what I'm saying? I'm growing up with a whole nother family type thing. And Tarzan, you were seeing him grow up with with the apes and having to adapt to like that lifestyle. And then you see him start questioning, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why my dad got these issues with me? Why Kerchak on my ass all the time? And and I think that's something that like he always picking me out, you know what I'm saying? Because I ain't got no hair on my body. But I do think that there's something that a lot of young men go through. It's like, am I the man that my father wants me to be? Am I really a man? Like, am I equipped to take on the burdens or the responsibility of those around me? So that's Tarzan is in my top 3 like Disney movies. I even walk around like a gorilla from time to time. That's my shit. I feel like it builds upper body strength and coordination. Look, bro, I'm on some animal shit, bro. You humans are too weird for me. Y'all get caught up on dumb shit. I'm trying to scratch my ass, eat some fruit, you know what I'm saying? Run around in some dirt, chew on a stick every now and then. Simple life, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to worry about oiling up or lubing up your guns when I can just take a good heavy rock. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
Put some dirt in it, slanging in somebody's face. Oh, they get hit in the forehead. Then all the little dirt fall off and get into their eye. So now they disoriented and blind.
Oh my God, bro, if you go missing, I'm gonna say to look at the jungle. That's AJ done gone to the jungle.
Follow the wolf tracks, my nigga. You gonna find me. You gonna find
this guy.
Unless I start riding on the wind or some shit, but that's y'all.
Wow.
Y'all ain't ready for that.
We're not worthy.
Y'all not. But those are my yeah, man. I'm a big Disney nerd, Disney fan, and that got me into creating. And like with Looney Tunes and just again all the Disney movies, just seeing like these anthropomorphic animal characters, I was like, you know, you can bring life or you can tell a story, and again, you don't have to look at humans and be like what they look like. You know, what's the demographic of the humans? It's just like, I'm just looking at animals doing some human-like shit. So, you know, what again, it's like, what's the story after that? Now I'm at the point to where I look at characters and I be like, what is that animal's race? So like Lion King, for instance, I think Simba is the privileged, light-skinned black dude growing up in the, you know, upper middle class neighborhood, and his fuck uncle who like the Prowler from Miles Morales Spider-Man. He on some fuck shit, so now he's trying to manipulate me and get stuff based off of me and my merit. And I said Timon and Pumbaa is. So look, I think Timon is Mexican.
Oh my God.
And I think Pumbaa is like trailer white, or like
okay.
I see what you mean. I think that's who those characters are. And those just Simba's homies. Like, you know what I'm saying? He left the good neighborhood. He was like, fuck you, dad. I don't care about your money. And he ran away. And now he posted up somewhere with his homies and living life with them. And he like, you know what? This some dumb shit. I should have stayed. I should have been investing my father's money. I could have asked him about all our bank accounts before he died. Now he's like, Mama, you still got that inheritance money for me? Like the prodigal son type stuff.
Yeah, we gotta get this Pride Rock LLC going.
Yeah. So that's what that's how I look at movies now, but I'm just having fun with it.
Oh yeah.
You got thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I never really tried to. I always internalize just the characters like as animals as they were, and just I always tried to find who I would be in the character. I still kind of do that. Like every movie I watch, I'm like, who would I be in this scenario? And I don't really. It doesn't matter black, white, male, female. I just like, oh, I'd be that character. I'd be this character, you know. And so I would always put myself in the character instead of saying what would the character look like as a person. Yeah. So I mean, that's usually what I would do. I mean, usually I'm trying to figure out. Like we watched Expendables. I knew I'd be Jet Li. Like in the Expendables movies, I knew I'm Jet Li. He's the smallest one there. He got one job. He does that. He's in. He's like, I gotta go. Need money for my family. I'll see y'all next time things go down. And you need me the next time. Like I would be that guy. I know I'm the smallest of the group. Like all of my friends typically are 6 feet tall. So I know that I'm the shortest of the group, but I know I'm the most agile. So those are character traits that I look for in other characters when I watch movies. So, it winds up being that I try to put myself in the movie instead of trying to pull out the characters.
Same here. That was me. I was always the short person
Oh, yeah.
in any group I was in. So anytime I
Mhm.
saw like characters or a cartoon or a show or something, I always gravitated towards the small athletic dude who,
Yeah.
again, just as like a Wolverine. It's like he's short, you know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? He ain't got
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
powers that can reach all out here, but he
Mm-mm.
one of them dudes that's like, bro, if he ain't on my team, it ain't no X-Men. So I
Right.
so I kind of I was felt represented by characters like that, like Spider-Man. Like all of his villains are,
That's true.
if not more physically imposing, they still have more uh like I don't want to say a better skill set, but you get what I'm saying. They were more
Yeah.
powerful. So to
Yeah.
see Spider-Man have to use what he had as well as his intellect to be able to overcome foes, especially when he fighting like Sinister Six. Now you got to fight six of you motherfuckers. It's like that was
Exactly.
that was cool about Spider-Man, or the representation that I saw in Spider-Man. So
Right.
that's why I loved him. But I guess talking about characters and being represented or feeling represented or seeing yourself in stories. Again, I'm not opposed to no Disney female movie. I think I'm one of the few males who actually enjoyed Frozen. I will sing the fuck out of some Let It Go. Uh that's my shit. Frozen 2 was cool. It kind of
uh,
touched more up on like the magical origin
okay.
of Elsa's power. I think the
Okay.
first one should have done more of that, because then it would have been more like a superhero show. Like she got
Okay.
magical ice queen. Like I'd be making my little fan fiction where her and Iceman be married and having little ice babies and shit. But I think Moana is a great recent, like, I don't want to say strong female movie, but it is what it was. Like she unfortunately
Hmm.
came at a time to where that's what they was pushing. But I
Hmm.
think Moana held that Disney magic and told a story that fit why this female was so important, or why she was the
Okay.
main character.
Okay.
Cause she, again, like myself, I'm growing up in the city, but I'm very much a country boy. Like I want to be out in nature. I hate being around buildings and fucking gasoline and, you know what I'm saying, concrete and shit. Like I hate
Yeah.
all of that. I hate myself for being on this fucking internet right now and take no microphone and fucking tablets and shit in the back. But Moana was like, she grew up, she was the chief's daughter, so she was gonna be the next like ruler. But wasn't like physically just beating up niggas like I'm the strongest one on this island. Ain't none of y'all shit compared to me. She felt this feeling like, I feel like we should be doing more than just living the same mundane life on this island. And as she like figured it out, like not animals, but like nature started talking to her, and like she just started feeling this calling, which I personally feel like that is from God. I feel like nature is a part of God and all that type of stuff. But she started feeling that and was like, you know what, there's more to our life, or we can be more than what we are or what we've allowed ourselves to be. And I want to go and discover that. And to bring it back to the conversation, that is what I
Mhm.
feel like from the hood. Like we have allowed ourselves to be stuck on this island, this closed mind, this one way of thinking. And I'm like, we were, I'm not gonna say destined, but we were better than this at a point, and I'm trying to get back to that.
Okay.
Um, like I hate to see black folks talking about, they see like some Steve Irwin or some shit, or see some white folks was manos be like, see, white folks did crazy, they always was manos. And I'm like, bro, we Africans by descent, we out there fighting fucking lions and shit, you know what I'm saying, to prove that we men type shit, you know what I'm saying. We got to go out there in the jungles and come back with something to offer our people. So I'm like, if anybody should be on some animal shit, it should be us. So I feel like I come I compare us to domestic dogs. I feel like
Okay.
I feel like Black people especially, but anybody civilization has turned us into domestic dogs, and now we're
Okay.
waiting for handlers to give us like food in a bowl at food time. You know what I'm saying? What are our rewards for doing good? You know what I'm saying? Like outside time, inside time, fucking pandemic, talking about some you can't go outside, like curfew type shit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are domestic dogs, and we
Mhm.
need wolves right now. Like we need to be in tune with our primitive selves, our true selves, and stop letting all of the ideology, all of the civilization, all of the echo chambers, like the safe spaces that we put ourselves in to feed whatever we're thinking. You know what I'm saying? Animals don't have that
Yeah.
luxury. It's I wake up, somebody next door to me trying to kill me, or somebody that roamed into my territory that I can kill, that I can eat. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah.
all thinking about sustaining myself. Like, how can I be the best version of myself in order to compete with the rest of the world, the bullshit that's going to be brought my way? And I feel like a lot of people are losing that, and we looking, like we said with the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, we're looking for, or it's seen as is demonized when a person take their life into their own hands. You know, it's
Mhm.
like people are looking for more, again, handouts from the government, or government tell me what should I do, like again with the pandemic, talking about some, can I go see my family, like they shaking in a fucking
Right.
magical 8 ball, can I go see my grandma for Christmas, ask me
Unlikely.
later. Unlikely. Ask me after 2 weeks of quarantine type shit. It's like, bro, like fuck it, man, do what you want to do, and if whatever consequence happens, like that's what life
Yeah.
is about, and that's what makes life great. you know All
Yeah.
right, I've been
Yeah.
talking a lot, man. What you got for me?
No, I was gonna say. I mean, I understand that you would love to live completely off the grid if you could.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, it's like I wouldn't mind having my own land. So it's saying that you don't have to live completely off the grid until the land, like it's the 1760s. However, there are certain things that you should know in general. Can you plant a crop? Can
Yes.
you cultivate it? Can you grow it? Doesn't have to be wheat. It could be grape tomatoes. It could be okra. Things that are very simple to actually grow that may take some time and some dedication because you don't know when things are gonna go upside down.
Mm-hmm.
You do not know when a situation like what's happening in Ukraine and Russia is gonna happen right now. They wound up having the military actually wound up giving citizens automatic rifles, that are technically illegal in America because they said, hey, things are going left. We need to protect ourselves. We need to know how to survive. And so you want to at least know how to survive should it happen, but you don't necessarily have to live like a survivalist. You don't have to necessarily hunt every day for your next meal because we're a little bit more civilized and regulated that way. However, you should know how to till the land in some
Yeah.
aspect of growing a crop. You should know how to know what I guess what roots are good to eat.
Yeah.
You should know how to defend yourself, whether that's with a knife, a bow and arrow, a firearm, your fists, learning about wrestling, how to have situation awareness. There
Learn
are
how to
some,
kick.
yeah, learn how to kick and punch.
It's so many folks that feel like, oh, you kicking, you cheating. What?
Nah. I'm using everything. I'm biting, I'm punching, I'm pulling stuff. I
Yes,
don't care.
sir. Yes,
Right.
sir.
I mean, I don't want to, I don't start problems, but if it is a problem, know that it would have been the fact of my life is in danger.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's either me or you. You gotta go.
Yeah.
That is survival when it comes down to it. And those are things that you should learn because life isn't always going to be easy. You need to know that if things go left, can you survive? Especially if you have a family. Can you protect yourself so that you're able to get home to your family? Can you protect your family so that whatever threat is coming has to go through you? You
Mm-hmm.
know.
So with that takes me to, I was having this conversation with a homie of mine, and we was talking about, I think I told you about about decentralization and how I don't feel like we're ready for that. I'm
Mhm.
all for it, but I feel like some things need to be kind of established or put in place before we actually go through with it. And the renewing of the mind was a point, or what my homie said was more. He said that was more important, and I was like, okay. He said that was more important than the things that I was speaking of. But then my question was, okay, what does renewing of the mind look like? And as I'm explaining more, I don't exactly know what renewing of the mind looks like. But like you said, if we knew how to grow food,
Right.
I think, and I'm only speaking for my people right now, but I think anybody, any culture, and I definitely see black folks lacking at this, but I'm not saying we're not capable or didn't do it at some point. But I think renewing of the mind, like we wouldn't have black people burning down our own neighborhoods if we knew Miss Johnson down the street was the one supplying like our milk or like our groceries,
Yeah.
or this place was supplying these crops. I think renewing of the mind will go to that, because then you find value in growing, creating things for yourself and the members of your community around, and how they contribute to the prosperity of the
The
surrounding area.
community, yeah, the
Yeah,
community.
the community.
Well,
Um,
that was I say is because of that reason that I would recommend decentralization. Because if you're decentralized, you can't worry about the politics and the goings on of something that's happening in San Francisco. You got to worry about what's happening where you are. If that's the case, I got to know if you're okay. Hey, are you protected? Are you sheltered? Do you have any threats? Because if the threat is coming at you, it's coming at me next. So
right.
my survival is dependent on your survival. And in that, there is community. I'm protecting Miss Johnson's storefront because I know that all the eggs in our community that go out come from her farm. So her farm is going to be the most protected in this community, because if something happens to her, our food supply is gone.
Yeah.
And that you actually want it renewing your mind, because you're saying, well, hey, I can't worry about anything outside my world. I have to worry about just my community. And with that, your mind's renewed and it's actually focused. It's like, hey, we protect Miss Johnson. We look out for her children. Mr. Palmer's got the pharmacy, so all the medications for everyone go through him, which means no looting that pharmacy. Do not rob from that farm, because you're taking from our entire community, and the whole community will suffer.
Yeah.
So, if you decentralize, you actually wind up renewing your mind, because you wind up having to rely on your neighbor, because whatever threats are going to happen to your neighbor are going to happen to you. Mm-hmm. So you've got your survival's linked. If we're central, the way we are now, it's everyone's fighting over bills that aren't even in their state, with judgments that may never affect them, for a president that you're never going to meet. However, if he says that for some reason all guns are illegal, well, you do know that if you know your local police officer, he's the one that's going to be coming in taking your gun, not the president. So in that regard, if we are decentralized, I have to get to know, the local law enforcement, the firefighters, anyone that's going to wind up coming to my aid if something happens. I would have to know that, because they're the ones that are going to be enforcing the rule of our county or our state. So, as much as people don't like the idea of decentralization because it's scary, I think it would force us to actually form relationships in a community that gets us out of our comfort zone. Then they may not want that. So I'm all for decentralization.
I definitely feel you on that. It is, I guess you could say it is scary, but that's only because it's different.
Yeah.
Mac Miller is one of my favorite rappers, and he said, we only grow from anguish. I feel like this comfortability that we've been through, we don't have warriors bred. We don't have critical thinkers bred and ready. But if we're gonna have to go through that point of uncomfortability where we shake shit up if we want a better future for the next generations, or for them to grow up in into a freer society that actually valued the things that we valued. So I'm burping. I've been drinking that drink, man. My bad.
I was like, bro, you take it to the head, man.
But yeah, I do think that with, again, decentralization is going to come its fears, but that's going to be a thing of the past. Once we get
Yeah.
through that, we're going to see, just like fucking the colonies broke off from Great Britain. It was like,
Right.
yeah, shit's going to be ugly for a minute, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can. What about the fruits of our labor
Right.
later on? And
Yeah.
I don't, and I want to say that it's not going to be hard, but again, we don't have a bunch of soldiers or a group of people who are ready to like sacrifice or understand what that is for greater good, going through a period of uncomfortability for a big payoff. My thing or my motto is you got to go through the bees to get to the honey. And it's
Yeah.
like a lot of folks that's gonna be like, oh fuck it, that's too scary, that's too big of a task to take on. Fuck it, you know what I'm saying? Government take care of me. Whatever y'all say, just fine. As long as life will go on being comfortable or as I know it. And I think shit need to be shook up, and we need to be brought with some or meet some unfamiliar uh ideas or concepts in order to see this world that we plan on or that we're fighting for, like libertarians or just a more freer period people. um yeah, it's gonna take some, basically just saying some, all right, fuck this, I'm not doing this no more.
Yeah.
What you gonna do about it?
Exactly.
And then we
Yeah.
go from there.
Yeah. That's kind of where I am with that too.
Yeah. All right, man, it's been a great conversation. We done got an hour and 40 minutes of this in.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I think it was great. I think it flowed well. I enjoyed talking to you as we. I was about to say as we do every week, but this is only the second week. But
We,
we
we'll make it a point to do every week if we can. Yeah.
yeah, man, we making it. It's been fun. Again, we had some good conversation. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, sir. Like this is actually, I was excited about this shit today, man. I was like, yeah. I got my points. I wrote this stuff. I did my research. We can still talk about the Florida bill at the next one because I already got that on there. It's actually a bill's only 4 pages, and then technically it's only 2 pages because they repeated the same thing twice.
Yeah.
So
Right,
I mean, that's not.
yeah. So this is just me closing out because we got to think we knew this is a new
Yeah,
podcast.
platform.
Ain't nobody gonna want to come and watch us for no hour and 40 some minutes or whatever.
Right.
But for the people who are invested in our opinions or see value in our opinions, again, this has been a good conversation.
Oh yeah.
And I do want to do more. People, I guess I'm talking to the people now. Y'all gonna see this channel grow. Y'all gonna see this podcast grow. I got some art coming to showcase us and our skills. Our conversations about the things that we value or want to talk to you guys about, for you to become a part of the conversation, become more invested in us, and again, add your thoughts to this. I do think we need more people talking. Even if shit's gonna hit the heart or make you feel uncomfortable, it's like that's fine. We need to be better with uncomfortability and understand how to, like, okay, damn, my nigga, you hit me with that one, but okay, what you trying to say? Like, that's good conversation to have, and it tempers you. It builds you up to be a better person, and able to handle rejection or some type of friction or your ideas being challenged.
Right.
And again, you're a totally different perspective. You're way more knowledgeable on things. And I'm just like, all right, it's whatever, about some shit. Not it's whatever, but more of a fuck all this shit. Like, what I'm saying? Let me go to my woods and let y'all deal with this shit on your own. This is just my opinionated opinion perspective.
It's like that Key and Pill sketch where they had President Obama and his anger interpreter.
Yeah. It's like, because you say your shit and you give it to him all clean and whatnot, and I'm just, and then I come how I am.
Yeah, I dig it, man. So yeah, I'll be ready for the next time that we pull up for the podcast, and got more topics at that point, man.
All right, y'all. We're gonna have some. But I don't want to say we're gonna have some art ready because, as you can see, this is just me and you talking right now. But shit, like our backgrounds, we using a full screen thing.
Yeah.
Again, people, y'all gonna see this channel really evolve. Y'all gonna see us put a lot into this. And And I appreciate anybody that's watching us. I've seen some viewer or viewers pop up here and there. I appreciate y'all being, bro. I'm burping like crazy. But
Drink got you, man.
the drink got me. I'm feeling good, but it's I'm at
All
a good
right.
level. Again, I appreciate people who are watching, who are viewing, who are on this journey with us. This is the Heroes No Capes
No capes.
podcast. No capes. You know what I'm saying? We just doing our thing and fighting for the everyday man. And just putting our voice out there. And again, comics is what bridged me and Ego's relationship and what got us talking to one another. So that's what I got for y'all, people. Go out and talk to somebody. Talk to somebody that really oppose or is the opposition. Okay, and have conversations without hating people. Just try to get perspective. And again, this is our society. So we need to talk in order to shape it in the way that we want it to be, or so that it's more advantageous or more prosperous for all of us. But there will always be poor. So if you ain't putting in no work and you ain't doing shit, then you're gonna continue not being shit. That's your fault.
Agree.
Go out and be great. You got any closing thoughts, Ego?
Nah, man. I like that. Go out and be great. Abomination and ego out.
We out. Peace.